name is Angelic Jenkins, owner of Angelic's Kitchen and Catering, Soul Food Eatery and Food Truck. And I am here today to show you all how I make my macaroni and cheese, homemade macaroni and cheese. So, I've already boiled the noodles. So, what I'm going to do is just put the noodles back into the pan to warm them up. Make sure that the pan is on low heat, because you don't want to burn your noodles. And this is probably maybe 8 ounces of noodles here that I am preparing right now. So that's about 1 box of macaroni noodles, elbow. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put maybe a couple of tablespoons of butter inside, just to prevent the noodles from sticking. And just to prevent the noodles from sticking. Put it back on the heat. We're going to stir so we can melt the butter in with the noodles. Just to cover that up completely with the noodles. And I turned the high heat on because the noodles came out the refrigerator. Normally, when I make my macaroni and cheese, I go ahead and drain the noodles and they're already hot and the butter melts right away. So we did it a little different this time. And then I'm going to add maybe a cup and a half of milk. You can use skimmed milk, whole milk, 2% milk, whatever you prefer. I prefer whole milk when I'm making my macaroni and cheese. So once we add the milk, we're going to continue to stir just to get the noodles nice and wet and make sure that butter melts completely. You want to make sure your butter melts completely inside your macaroni and cheese. Alright, then what I'm going to do is add a whole quart of some half and half cream. This is my secret to having some nice creamy macaroni and cheese. So we're going to add a whole quart of heavy cream to that. It's never enough heavy cream in macaroni and cheese. And we're just going to stir that so it can get nice and warm. Then I can probably turn my temperature up just a little bit more to help that butter melt all the way and get the heavy cream and the milk just a little warm there. Just continue to stir. Can you grab me some more milk from the refrigerator? And sometimes if you want it to be a little creamier, if you want it to be a little more loose, you can always add extra milk. In this case, I'm going to add some more milk. So I'm going to add another cup and a half to it. Pour that in there. There we go. And you can use your own judgment how creamy you want your macaroni and cheese to be.
So how did you, is this a family recipe or?
You know, this recipe, when I was a little girl, I used to watch my grandmother. Her name was Viola Baggins. And she used to make macaroni and cheese. And I used to sit inside her kitchen and watch her make it. So I honestly can say that I got a lot of the ideas from her. The only thing I did not get from her was the heavy cream. She used to use pet milk. So I've sort of changed over the years to switch from pet milk to the heavy cream. So it's part of my grandma's recipe and also part of my recipe. So it's a combination of both. Alright. So got that, we're turning it just a little higher so we can get that nice and hot. Because what I want to do is make this really hot. Butter's already melted halfway inside there. And then I like to add my cheese to this so I can have a nice, soft, stringy cheese. So it's nice and melted. Before I do that, I'm going to also add a little bit of sugar. Some people like sweetness in their macaroni and cheese, some people don't. I have to admit I have to slow down the sugar because I have a sweet tooth. So I'll add a little bit of sugar. And just to give it a little sweetness to it, because to mix it with that sweet sugar and that sharp cheese, just to give it a nice flavor, I had just maybe a couple of tablespoons of sugar. I would recommend for anyone else, but for me, because I made a whole box, I would probably add like maybe 2 tablespoons of sugar. And I just dump it all inside there. And like I said, it's up to you to go by how sweet you want your macaroni and cheese, or if you don't want to add sugar at all. stir. Make sure that milk and heavy cream and butter is all nice and melted inside there. See, it's starting to get hot there. Start to see the steam. Okay. Then I use sharp cheese. I love using my sharp cheese. You gotta have sharp cheese. The sharp cheese really helps with the salt. You gotta taste a little bit of salt. So I just take it and I go for it. I dump it in there. I do not hold back on the cheese. That's what makes my macaroni and cheese so famous, because I don't hold back on the cheese. So I start just dumping the cheese inside of there. Just go by your own judgment of how much cheese, how cheesy you want it to be. So that's the sharp cheese, and that's probably 2 cups of sharp cheese I just put inside there just now. So that's like 2 cups of sharp cheese. And I start to stir it a little bit, and you see that it's melting down fast. Then I'm going to add another 2 cups of the Colby cheese, which is the Monterey Jack cheese. I'm going to add about 2 cups of that. And I've been doing this for years, so I don't have to use a measuring cup for every day. About 2 cups of the Colby. So really it's like 3 types of cheese in here. We got the mild cheddar, the sharp cheddar, and the Colby in here. And you see how that's starting to melt down a little bit? How creamy that is with that heavy cream. And you're going to have that sharp cheese. It's going to give you that nice salty taste, and the sugar is going to give it a nice little mild sweet taste, so it's like a sweet and salty taste there. And I just keep on stirring it. I call it a fold. Instead of stirring it, just do a nice fold. And you can see the noodles are starting to get really soft. The butter is melted in there. The cheese is starting to turn nice and stringy. Alright. It's starting to melt. See how this is melting inside? Alright, at this point I'm going to reduce my heat. Just go ahead and turn it off completely or reduce the heat. And what I'm going to do is add a little bit more sharp cheese in there. Because pretty much that has made like a cheese sauce. So we're going to add some more cheese in there, and we're not going to let this melt all the way. So that was some more sharp cheese, and that was probably like maybe a half a cup I added in there. And then we're going to add maybe another half a cup of the Colby cheese as well. And then we're going to just toss it a couple of times. See how that cheese is inside there? You can actually see it. Alright, so that's ready to go inside the pan. I'm going to take this, make sure it's not too hot. Grab a couple of bits just in case. Alright. So we're going to take it. We'll grab the spoon out of there. I use a half-size pan. Probably have a little bit left over. You can always use a larger pan if you like. Put all of that goodness into the pan. Look at all of that. All of that creamy macaroni and cheese. That looks amazing. And you see the heavy cream, how you got that nice creamy macaroni and cheese, nice and cheesy there. And then to top it all, because like I said, I don't hold back on the cheese. We're going to add a little bit more sharp cheese on top. Sort of cover it up a little bit. Get nice and pretty. Oh yeah. Then we're going to add some Monterey and the Colby cheese on top. Sort of cover it up completely.
Get that nice cheese crust on top.
Oh yeah, yeah. Nice and cheesy. Then we're going to put a lid on top of there. We have it already marked macaroni. Make sure we cover it up nice. Then we're going to bake it inside the oven. I use my convectional oven. And normally I bake it inside the oven for maybe 25 to 40 minutes, just depending on, you know, how you like the texture of your macaroni and cheese. God. And it's nice and creamy. And let's see if I can grab a plate real quick. So I'm gonna take the macaroni and cheese and go inside. Scoop it on the plate. And look how cheesy that is. Mmm, yummy. There you have it. Angelic's Kitchen Soul Food Eatery, homemade macaroni and cheese.